Hello, I'd like to show you some cool things that are in Zoom and in particular the attention tracking ability that it has. As teachers, we always have a desire for everyone in our class to be concentrating. It's not always possible, and we can't expect kids to be concentrating 100% of the time. But Zoom has some very good features within online learning that can track students and monitor their attention during your class. And it does this by by keeping tabs on their tabs. So if a student's not on the screen that you're showing them and they're somewhere else for more than 30 seconds, then Zoom keeps a track of that and gives you a percentage ranking at the end of the meeting. So I'll go ahead and show you how to find this. If you log into your Zoom web browser, where there's lots of information, your previous meetings are all in here, your recordings as well are all stored in here. Settings, which is really important because you can change lots of things like mute the people on entry, etc., and save text messages. If you come down the bottom here to this reports function, and then it gives you two options, and if you come to usage, then it comes to your meetings, and then on the right hand side here, if you scroll across, you see some numbers, and when you click on those numbers, you'll be taken to a usage report. So it brings you to a screen that looks like this, and I've covered up the participants' names here, and then you can see this detail here about their attentiveness score. And if you notice at the top here, it's got this export meeting data. So if you put the tick in that box and then click export, it will export a CSV file, a comma separated text file. And then if you right click on one of those files, you can open those in a spreadsheet. So here we have the file exported, the CSV file, and straight into the spreadsheet. It just lists the kids by alphabetical order. So then you can go ahead and you can sort this list by the attentiveness score, and you can get a ranking of who's been listening and who hasn't been listening in class. And you can just see here in my class today, I had one student who was at 15% attention span. And so that's very interesting. And so I went, whoa, okay, I'll check up on this a little bit more. There was another one on 44, 48. So I went back to my Google Classroom to see how this person's been traveling during online learning. And I found that I'd been leaving messages for this same person and saying, you need to do more work, you haven't done any work for 2 weeks. I've obviously sent some emails as well, but you need to get motivated. And then finally the kid said, oh, I'm sorry I didn't read this, I'll get to work now. But that message, interestingly enough, was probably sent before today's meeting, in which there was a 15% ranking. So data is an interesting thing. We do have to be careful about it. I did mention to the kids in a couple of my classes coming up in Zoom that there was a capability that it could track their attention, just so that they were aware of it and starting to think, oh, I better pay attention here. And this app, remember, it works by checking their focus on the screen. So the validity of that is up to you to interpret, I guess. And nobody can concentrate all the time, but it's an interesting little tool nonetheless. A final little data tool that's available in Zoom is also the polling process. So today, before class started, actually, while I was just sort of chatting with the kids before that it was time to start the class, I said, hey, let's make a poll together. And so I typed in, why am I being successful at home learning? And we made these 4 questions together, and then I got them to do it. And then we had a really valuable conversation around what's going on at home. And then they said, well, hang on, we didn't ask, what if I wasn't successful? One kid put their hand up and said, I wasn't successful. And so we were able to turn these back around the way and say, well, look, maybe you're not in a habit. Maybe you haven't started. So we had a really valuable conversation about motivation. And so while we weren't maybe talking about the subject at hand, we were talking about education and talking about learning. And so actually it was more valuable. So I hope you found this interesting, and you can use the elements in Zoom and they can help you run better classes. Thanks.